Your words are not random sounds passing through the air. They are force vibrations and commands that shape the atmosphere around your life. Every time you open your mouth, you release either construction or destruction, either healing or harm, either growth or decay. People often underestimate the power of their own voice, forgetting that every sentence is a seed, and every seed eventually grows into a result. What you repeatedly say about your life becomes the identity you start to live out. When you continuously speak limitations, your mind begins to mold itself around those limitations. When you consistently speak possibility, your internal world starts searching for ways to make that possibility real. This is why the discipline of your mouth is not just about avoiding arguments or staying polite. It is about mastering the creative instrument that crafts your destiny. You cannot speak failure and expect success. You cannot declare weakness and expect strength. You cannot complain and expect progress. The energy of your words directly influences the energy of your life, and every direction you give through your speech becomes a subconscious instruction your mind begins to follow. Many people talk themselves out of opportunities long before they even try. They say, I can't, it's too hard, I'm not good enough, and those statements become chains that bind their potential. The truth is, your subconscious mind does not argue with your words. It simply accepts them as reality. When you tell yourself that something is impossible, your inner system stops searching for solutions. But when you speak in alignment with growth, when you declare confidence, even when you feel uncertain, something inside you begins to shift. The mind starts to work with you instead of against you. That is the power hidden inside your mouth. It can open doors or it can shut them. It can push you forward or it can pull you backward. Every time you complain, criticize, gossip, or speak fear, you drain your mental and emotional energy. And every time you speak vision, speak gratitude, speak discipline, speak clarity, you charge your spirit with strength and direction. Your mouth is also a mirror of your inner state. Whatever you speak the most reveals what you believe the most. If your words are filled with negativity, it is a sign of a negative internal program. If your words are filled with doubt, it is evidence that doubt has taken root within. But the beauty of the spoken word is that it not only reveals belief, it also rewrites belief. When you consciously discipline your mouth to speak higher, stronger, clearer words, you begin to reshape the patterns inside your mind. You retrain your thinking, you reprogram your perspective, and you realign your emotional patterns. One of the greatest acts of self-control is choosing your words consciously, especially in moments of pressure, anger, or insecurity. Those are the times when people usually lose control of their mouth and allow temporary emotions to create permanent damage. A single uncontrolled sentence can break trust, destroy relationships, or create guilt that lingers for years. But a disciplined mouth becomes a shield that protects your peace, your relationships, and your progress. Greatness begins with speech because speech influences belief, and belief influences action. When you speak deliberately, you begin to write the script of the life you want to live. Think of your mouth as a compass. Whichever direction your words point, your life will eventually follow. The phrases you repeat, the declarations you make, the statements you feed yourself, they shape how you feel, how you think, and what you expect. An expectation is powerful. People rise or fall according to what they believe they deserve. And their beliefs are heavily shaped by the words they hear, especially the words they speak to themselves. That is why self-talk is one of the most important elements of personal control. When your voice speaks against you, nothing outside can truly help you. But when your voice speaks for you, even hardship becomes fuel for growth. There's also the dimension of influence. Your words carry the ability to shift the mindset of those around you. You can calm a storm with one sentence or create one with the same breath. You can lift someone's spirit or break it. People remember your tone long after they forget your sentences. This means your mouth is not only crafting your life, it is shaping the emotional climate of your environment. When your speech becomes disciplined, intentional, and uplifting, you create a space where growth becomes natural and negativity finds no room to survive. And as you consistently practice this, you begin to notice that your reality starts matching the level of your language. You see new opportunities because you speak like someone who is ready for them. You attract healthier connections because your words carry respect, confidence, and clarity. You begin to feel more powerful because your speech reinforces your identity instead of weakening it. When you master your mouth, you master the first gateway of transformation. You take control of the force that influences mood, directs focus, shapes belief, and builds the framework for every result you achieve. Your words are your first tools of creation, and the more deliberately you use them, the more deliberately you design the future unfolding. Before you, your mood is the silent architect of your decisions, shaping your choices long before you consciously realize it. Most people believe they make decisions with logic, with reason, with clear thinking, but the truth is that the emotional state you are in while making a decision has more influence than the information in front of you. When your mood is low, even opportunities look like threats. And when your mood is elevated, even challenges begin to look like possibilities. Your mood filters your perception. It colors how you interpret events, how you respond to people, and how you evaluate your own abilities. A person who does not master their mood becomes a passenger in their own life, traveling wherever their emotions decide to take them. And emotions, when unmanaged, are often impulsive, unstable, and reactive. That is why mood control is not a luxury. It is a necessity for anyone who wants to move through life with clarity, strength, and inner authority. There are moments when the smallest irritation can push you into frustration, and that frustration can lead you into decisions you later regret. A single mood swing can make you say things you don't. Commit to things you should. Walk away from things you need, or sabotage things you were meant to build. That is how powerful your mood is. It becomes the lens through which the world appears. If the lens is clouded, your decisions will be clouded too. Many people ruin relationships, damage careers, and delay their own progress simply because they reacted from a temporary emotional state. They allowed a passing feeling to create a permanent consequence. When you do not regulate your mood, you give your emotions permission to lead your actions. And emotions are not designed to lead. They are designed to signal. They tell you something is happening, but they are not supposed to dictate what you do next. Mastering your mood requires a deep sense of self-awareness. You must learn to identify your emotional triggers, the things that instantly disrupt your peace, the thoughts that create anxiety, the patterns that drain you, and the situations that push you into impulsive reactions. When you become aware of these triggers, you gain the ability to pause. That pause is where your power lies. In that moment between emotion and reaction, you decide whether you will operate from wisdom or from noise. Many people never create that pause, so they live in a cycle of reacting, apologizing, regretting, and repeating. Mood control breaks that cycle. It gives you the ability to respond instead of react, to think before acting, to choose who you want to be in the moment, rather than being controlled by the moment. Your mood also determines the energy you carry into your day. A negative mood drains your strength, slows your momentum, and makes simple tasks feel heavy. A positive mood amplifies your capacity, increases your productivity, and makes even difficult tasks feel manageable. This is why emotional discipline is not just an internal skill, it is a performance skill. Your mood influences your creativity, your problem-solving abilities, your confidence, and even your physical energy. Leaders, creators, and successful individuals all share a common trait. They protect their mood because they understand that the quality of their emotional state determines the quality of their decisions. When your emotional world is chaotic, your decision-making becomes chaotic too. One of the most important aspects of mood control is refusing to let external circumstances dictate your internal state. You cannot allow someone's comment, someone's attitude, someone's negativity, or someone's misunderstanding to hijack your peace. When your emotions depend on external conditions, you live as a slave to what happens around you. But when you develop internal mastery, you build an emotional immunity that allows you to stay grounded even when circumstances shake. This doesn't mean ignoring your feelings, it means guiding them. It means refusing to give temporary situations permanent control over your internal world. It means understanding that the world outside will never be perfect, but the world inside can become strong, stable, and steady. And mastering your mood doesn't mean you will never feel sadness, anger, disappointment, or frustration. It means you don't allow those feelings to rule you. You feel them, you observe them, but you do not let them make decisions for you. You don't speak from them, you don't react from them, and you don't build from them. You acknowledge them, but you elevate above them. Mood mastery is choosing your emotional state intentionally instead of inheriting it from circumstance. It is waking up and deciding that peace will not be negotiated today, that clarity will not be surrendered, that patience will not be lost, and that emotional turbulence will not lead your steps. When you reach that level of internal discipline, your decisions become cleaner, your relationships healthy, your goals more attainable, and your life more aligned with the person you want to become. Your money is not just a number in a bank account. It is a reflection of the mental blueprint you have been carrying throughout your life. Every belief you hold about wealth, every thought you have about earning, saving, spending, or investing is a part of that internal programming. People often think money problems are financial problems, but most of the time they are thinking problems. What you believe about money determines how you behave with money. If you subconsciously believe money is hard to get, you will unconsciously avoid opportunities that could bring more of it. If you believe wealth is only for a certain kind of person, you will filter yourself out of the very possibilities that could elevate you. Your financial life follows the patterns of your mind long before it follows the plans on your paper. That is why two people with the same income can live completely different realities, one continuously struggling and the other steadily growing, because their internal stories about money are completely different. Many people were raised hearing phrases that planted limiting beliefs deep inside them, phrases like money does, tea grow on trees, we can't afford that, rich people are greedy, or life is about surviving, not prospering. These statements may sound simple, but they create emotional codes within the mind. Those codes influence the way you see wealth and your worthiness of it. If someone grows up believing money is scarce, they will live a life of scarcity. Even when opportunities for abundance appear right in front of them, they will hesitate, doubt, fear risk, and feel guilty for wanting more. On the other hand, a person who believes money is a tool and not a threat approaches financial life with confidence and creativity. They pursue opportunities without fear, they make decisions without emotional baggage, and they treat money as a partner in their purpose rather than an enemy of their peace. Your financial blueprint determines whether you chase money in desperation or attract it through alignment. Money responds to mindset because mindset determines behavior. When your inner world is filled with fear, you make cautious, survival-driven decisions that limit financial growth. When your inner world is filled with clarity and purpose, your decisions become strategic, bold, and future-focused. You begin to see money differently, not as something you pursue, but as something you control and direct. You understand that money is not emotional, it simply obeys principles. And those principles are easier to practice when your mind is aligned with abundance instead of scarcity. People who struggle financially often think the problem is lack of money, but the deeper problem is usually lack of direction, lack of discipline, lack of purpose, or lack of confidence in their own ability to generate and manage resources. The moment your mindset expands, your capacity to handle money expands with it. Your financial results are also shaped by your habits. A mind programmed for scarcity will spend without structure, save without intention, and invest without understanding. A mind programmed for abundance operates differently. It creates clarity around spending, consistency around saving, and confidence around investing. Financial discipline does not start in the wallet. It starts in the mind. It begins with how you view responsibility, how you view opportunity, and how you view your own future. When you see yourself as someone capable of growth, you begin to behave like a person who expects progress. And when you behave like that person, your financial situation begins to shift. This is why some people increase their income, but still remain broke. They brought the same mindset into a new level of money. The outer number changed, but the inner blueprint stayed the same. True financial transformation happens when you rewrite the narratives inside your mind. You begin questioning every belief you were taught. You examine the stories that limit you. You detach your emotions from money and start using logic, vision, and principle. You replace fear with understanding. You replace confusion with planning. You replace avoidance with responsibility. And as you do this, you start noticing something powerful. Money begins to follow your wisdom. It begins to respond to your clarity. It begins to align with your discipline. Money grows where it is respected, not feared. It grows where it is managed, not ignored. It grows where the mind is prepared to handle it. When your thoughts about money become healthier, your financial life becomes stronger. When your beliefs about wealth become clearer, Your decisions about wealth become wiser. And when your mindset shifts into abundance, your life rises to match that abundance, because your money will always follow the blueprint that lives inside your mind. Self-discipline is the invisible bridge that connects who you are right now to who you are capable of becoming. It is the internal force that transforms intention into action, desire into consistency, and vision into reality. People often dream of change, talk about change, and even plan for change, but without discipline, nothing truly shifts. Discipline is the structure that carries your potential across the distance between imagination and manifestation. It is the daily, quiet power that separates those who rise from those who repeat the same year of life over and over again. When you discipline your mouth, you choose silence over impulse. When you discipline your mood, you choose grounding over emotional storm. When you discipline your money, you choose strategy over chaos. When you discipline your mind, you choose clarity over confusion. Every act of discipline is an act of self-respect, because it proves to yourself that your future matters more than your impulses. Most people want progress without sacrifice, growth without discomfort, success without structure. But true transformation demands the opposite. You cannot elevate your life while remaining loyal to the habits that limit you. Discipline begins with small, simple decisions made repeatedly, even when they are inconvenient. It is waking up with purpose rather than drifting through the day. It is speaking intentionally rather than reacting carelessly. It is controlling your spending instead of being controlled by your desires. It is choosing thoughts that align with your goals instead of indulging in mental noise that weakens your direction. Discipline is not about perfection. It is about alignment. Every disciplined action aligns your current self with your future self, tightening the gap between where you are and where you're meant to be. Discipline also builds internal strength. Every time you follow through on a promise to yourself, you reinforce your inner foundation. You begin to trust your own word. You begin to believe in your own ability to complete, to commit, to push through resistance. Most people fail, not because they lack ability, but because they lack consistency. They start with enthusiasm and end with excuses. They rely on motivation, which comes and goes, instead of discipline, which stays steady even when feelings fluctuate. Discipline does not ask, do I feel like it? Discipline asks, is this necessary for who I want to become? And with that question, it gives you the power to move even when mood, comfort, or convenience try to hold you back. Discipline also creates clarity. When you structure your habits, your environment, and your priorities, the unnecessary begins to fall away. You stop wasting time on distractions because your vision becomes sharper. You stop entertaining people who drain your energy because your boundaries become stronger. You stop chasing every shiny opportunity because your path becomes defined. Discipline clears mental clutter and emotional confusion because it forces you to focus on what matters. The more you commit to structure, the more life responds with stability. You begin to experience a sense of control over your decisions, your routines, and your outcomes. Discipline doesn't restrict your life. It organizes it so your true potential can finally breathe. And self-discipline is not just about doing what is hard. It is also about doing what is right. It is about choosing long-term fulfillment over short-term pleasure. It is about delaying gratification, not out of denial, but out of wisdom. When you train yourself to prioritize long-term results, you begin to break free from cycles of impulsive decisions that create regret. You stop making emotional purchases, emotional reactions, emotional judgments, and emotional exits. Instead, you begin acting from intention. Discipline teaches you how to pause, how to observe, how to choose from reason rather than react from emotion. The more you repeat these disciplined actions, the more powerful your character becomes. Discipline also strengthens your identity. When you repeatedly choose actions that align with your goals, you begin to see yourself differently. You no longer see yourself as someone who tries. You see yourself as someone who completes. You no longer see yourself as someone who hopes. You see yourself as someone who builds. Your self-image evolves, and that new self-image fuels even greater discipline. You start expecting better from yourself. You start believing you deserve better outcomes because you have built the habits that support those outcomes. People often underestimate how deeply identity and discipline are connected. You cannot behave like one version of yourself while expecting results that belong to another version. Discipline upgrades your self-image, and your upgraded self-image upgrades your results. The truth is, discipline is a form of freedom. It frees you from regret, from inconsistency, from self-sabotage, from emotional reactions, from financial chaos, from mental confusion. It frees you from living life on autopilot. With discipline, you become intentional. You become clear. You become focused. You become powerful. Discipline is the architecture of transformation. And every moment you practice it, carve out a future that reflects your highest potential, not your temporary impulses. Your mind is the command center that directs every dimension of your life, quietly influencing how you think, what you decide, how you respond, and what you ultimately become. Every idea you embrace, every image you hold, every belief you repeat is stored in this internal headquarters and begins to shape the direction of your life. Even when you are not consciously aware of it, your mind does not simply observe your reality, it constructs it. It interprets your experiences, filters your opportunities, and sets the boundaries of your potential. Whatever you consistently hold in your mind eventually becomes the framework through which you live. If your inner images are filled with limitation, your actions will shrink to match those limitations. If your inner images are filled with possibility, your behavior will rise to meet that possibility. This is why the mastery of the mind is one of the most powerful forms of mastery a person can ever achieve. Your mind is constantly feeding you thoughts, and those thoughts shape your emotional patterns, your self-worth, your expectations, and your behaviors. The mind can elevate you or imprison you, depending on the programming you allow inside it. Many people walk through life with mental patterns they never chose, beliefs inherited from childhood, fears absorbed from society, doubts picked up from mistakes, insecurities gained from failures. These mental programs continue to influence them silently, directing their decisions like an all-pilot system. They think they are choosing based on logic, but they are actually choosing based on internal images created long before they understood their power. When you do not take conscious control of your mind begins to operate on old programming. And old programming rarely produces new results. The mind has a powerful tendency to replay familiar images. If you've experienced rejection, your mind may replay those moments whenever you try something new. If you've experienced failure, your mind may replay that memory whenever you reach for a bigger goal. The mind is trying to protect you, but in attempting to protect you, it often reinforces limitation. It floods you with caution when you need courage. It amplifies fear when you need faith. It magnifies doubt when you need determination. This is why understanding the mind is essential. Your thoughts do not always tell you the truth. They tell you the story you have rehearsed the most. If that story is rooted in past pain or past limitations, your mind will continue to create a future based on yesterday's struggles instead of tomorrow's possibilities. To command your mind, you must first take ownership of what you allow to enter it. Everything you watch, listen to, read, and discuss becomes material for your thoughts. If the content you consume is filled with negativity, your mind becomes fertile ground for negative thinking. If the voices you surround yourself with speak fear, doubt, and limitation, your inner voice begins to echo that same frequency. On the other hand, when you intentionally feed your mind with ideas that elevate you, with knowledge that strengthens you, with voices that inspire you, your thinking begins to rise. Your mind becomes a tool for creation instead of destruction. You begin to build new internal images, images of strength, progress, purpose, and clarity. These images form the new blueprint of your life. One of the most powerful functions of the mind is imagination. Imagination is not a childish ability, it is the gateway to transformation. Everything created in the physical world was first created in someone's mind. Every invention, every breakthrough, every achievement began as an idea. When you use your imagination consciously, you begin to train your mind to see beyond your current circumstances. You begin to visualize possibilities that your present reality has not yet caught up with. This visualization is not fantasy, it is mental preparation. It is your mind rehearsing the future you intend to manifest. The more vividly you imagine something, the more your mind begins to accept as possible. And once your mind accepts something as possible, your behavior begins to align with it naturally. Your mind is also the battlefield where your greatest challenges occur. Doubt, fear, procrastination, confusion, insecurity, all of these battles begin in the mind long before they show up in your action. When you learn to observe your thoughts instead of obeying them, you begin to take your power back. You stop letting every fear dictate your decisions. You stop letting every uncomfortable thought control your path. You begin to choose which thoughts deserve your energy and which thoughts must be dismissed. This mental discipline gives you clarity, stability, and inner authority. You become less reactive and more intentional. You stop being pulled by mental noise and start being guided by mental direction. As your mind becomes clearer, your life becomes clearer, your goals sharpen, your self-image strengthens, your decisions align with your purpose. You stop living from habit and start living from intention. You stop repeating old cycles and start creating new pathways. The more you train your mind to hold powerful thoughts, the more powerful your reality becomes. The more you discipline your thinking, the more disciplined your life becomes. Your mind is the command center. And when you take command of it, you take command of everything connected to it, your actions, your emotions, your habits, your relationships, your opportunities, and your future. Self-discipline is the invisible bridge that connects who you are right now to who you are capable of becoming. It is the internal force that transforms intention into action, desire into consistency, and vision into reality. People often dream of change, talk about change, and even plan for change. But without discipline, nothing truly shifts. Discipline is the structure that carries your potential across the distance between imagination and manifestation. It is the daily, quiet power that separates those who rise from those who repeat the same year of life over and over again. When you discipline your mouth, you choose silence over impulse. When you discipline your mood, you choose grounding over emotional storm. When you discipline your money, you choose strategy over chaos. When you discipline your mind, you choose clarity over confusion. Every act of discipline is an act of self-respect because it proves to yourself that your future matters more than your impulses. Most people want progress without sacrifice, growth without discomfort, success without structure. But true transformation demands the opposite. You cannot elevate your life while remaining loyal to the habits that limit you. Discipline begins with small, simple decisions made repeatedly, even when they are inconvenient. It is waking up with purpose rather than drifting through the day. It is speaking intentionally rather than reacting carelessly. It is controlling your spending instead of being controlled by your desires. It is choosing thoughts that align with your goals instead of indulging in mental noise that weakens your direction. Discipline is not about perfection. It is about alignment. Every disciplined action aligns your current self with your future self, tightening the gap between where you are and where you're meant to be. Discipline also builds internal strength. Every time you follow through on a promise to yourself, you reinforce your inner foundation. You begin to trust your own word. You begin to believe in your own ability to complete, to commit, to push through resistance. Most people fail, not because they lack ability, but because they lack consistency. They start with enthusiasm and end with excuses. They rely on motivation, which comes and goes, instead of discipline, which stays steady even when feelings fluctuate. Discipline does not ask, do I feel like it? Discipline asks, is this necessary for who I want to become? And with that question, it gives you the power to move even when mood, comfort, or convenience try to hold you back. Discipline also creates clarity. When you structure your habits, your environment, and your priorities, the unnecessary begins to fall away. You stop wasting time on distractions because your vision becomes sharper. You stop entertaining people who drain your energy because your boundaries become stronger. You stop chasing every shiny opportunity because your path becomes defined. Discipline clears mental clutter and emotional confusion because it forces you to focus on what matters. The more you commit to structure, the more life responds with stability. You begin to experience a sense of control over your decisions, your routines, and your outcomes. Discipline doesn't restrict your life. It organizes it so your true potential can finally breathe. And self-discipline is not just about doing what is hard, it is also about doing what is right. It is about choosing long-term fulfillment over short-term pleasure. It is about delaying gratification, not out of denial, but out of wisdom. When you train yourself to prioritize long-term results, you begin to break free from cycles of impulsive decisions that create regret. You stop making emotional purchases, emotional reactions, emotional judgments, and emotional exits. Instead, you begin acting from intention. Discipline teaches you how to pause, how to observe, how to choose from reason rather than react from emotion. The more you repeat these disciplined actions, the more powerful your character becomes. Discipline also strengthens your identity. When you repeatedly choose actions that align with your goals, you begin to see yourself differently. You no longer see yourself as someone who tries. You see yourself as someone who completes. You no longer see yourself as someone who hopes. You see yourself as someone who builds. Your self-image evolves. And that new self-image fuels even greater discipline. You start expecting better from yourself. You start believing you deserve better outcomes because you have built the habits that support those outcomes. People often underestimate how deeply identity and discipline are connected. You cannot behave like one version of yourself while expecting results that belong to another version. Discipline upgrades your self-image. And your upgraded self-image upgrades your results. The truth is, discipline is a form of freedom. It frees you from regret, from inconsistency, from self-sabotage, from emotional reactions, from financial chaos, from mental confusion. It frees you from living life on autopilot. With discipline, you become intentional. You become clear. You become focused. You become powerful. Discipline is the architecture of transformation, and every moment you practice it, you carve out a future that reflects your highest potential, not your temporary impulses. Mastery begins within, because everything you experience outwardly is a reflection of the patterns you have established inwardly. When a person learns to control their internal world, their thoughts, their emotions, their decisions, their habits, they begin to notice that life outside starts to shift as well. People often try to fix their circumstances without fixing the root. But the root is always internal. Your words come from your thoughts. Your decisions come from your emotions. Your actions come from your beliefs. And your results come from your actions. This means that your external environment is simply a mirror showing you what is happening inside. When your inner world is chaotic, your outer world becomes disorganized, stressful, and unstable. When your inner world is structured, disciplined, and aligned, your outer world begins to reflect that structure. True mastery is not about controlling the world around you. It is about controlling the world within you so that your external life aligns naturally with your inner strength. When you master your internal world, you change the frequency you operate on. The energy you carry shifts. Your responses change. Your attitude improves. Your confidence grows. And because of that, the opportunities you attract, the people you connect with, and the experiences you engage in begin to elevate. You no longer react from insecurity, from fear, or from impatience. You respond from clarity, understanding, and purpose. This shift in behavior sends signals to your environment. People treat you differently because you treat yourself differently. Opportunities come to you because you are prepared for them internally. Situations unfold in your favor because your mind is aligned with progress instead of conflict. The world outside adjusts to the power, discipline, and intention you hold inside. Internal mastery also means understanding that nothing outside of you has the authority to control your peace unless you grant it permission. When you learn to detach from opinions, from negativity, from temporary setbacks, and from emotional triggers, you step into a place of inner authority that cannot be easily shaken. You stop trying to manage other people's actions and begin focusing on managing your own reactions. You stop allowing temporary emotions to create long-term consequences. You stop giving power to situations that do not deserve it. This inner stability becomes a shield against chaos. It protects your focus, your mindset, your direction, and your progress. People who lack internal mastery live in constant reaction to external events. But people who possess internal mastery shape their responses with wisdom and intention, creating an internal anchor that keeps them grounded regardless of what storms may come. Another powerful aspect of inner mastery is that it sharpens your intuition. When your mind is noisy, when your emotions are reactive, when your habits are inconsistent, it becomes difficult to hear your inner guidance. But when you cultivate inner stillness and inner structure, your intuition, the deeper voice within, becomes clearer. This intuitive clarity allows you to make decisions with confidence. It helps you recognize when something is right for you and when something is not. It guides you away from distractions and toward your purpose. You begin to trust your own judgment because your judgment is coming from a place of inner alignment rather than fear, confusion, or pressure. This clarity influences your external reality because every decision you make becomes intentional and aligned with your highest direction. Mastery from within also creates resilience. Life will always present challenges, but when you are internally strong, challenges no longer defeat you, they develop you. You no longer crumble under pressure. You adapt, you think, you adjust, and you rise. You begin seeing hardships differently, not as obstacles meant to break you, but as training meant to build you. When your inner world is anchored in discipline, clarity, and purpose, you handle adversity with a strength that others may not understand. You recover faster. You learn quicker. You grow deeper. And because of this internal resilience, your external life becomes more stable, more fruitful, and more progressive. The storms outside do not dictate your direction because the calm inside keeps you steady. When you master your inner world, you also begin to live with intention rather than habit. Most people live from automatic patterns, reacting the same way, thinking the same way, feeling the same way, repeating the same cycles year after year. But inner mastery allows you to interrupt those patterns and replace them with conscious choices. You no longer live on autopilot. You wake up with purpose. You act from awareness. You make decisions based on where you want to go rather than where you have been. This intentional living transforms your relationships, your finances, your health, and your opportunities because you are no longer making choices from unconscious programming. You are choosing from clarity, vision, and direction. And perhaps the most powerful part of inner mastery is that it allows you to create alignment between your values, your actions, and your future. When your inner world is disciplined, your outer world begins to organize itself around that discipline. You no longer sabotage yourself with mixed signals. You no longer desire one thing but behave in a way that contradicts it. Your thoughts, your emotions, your decisions, and your actions begin to move in the same direction, creating momentum. That momentum attracts progress, and progress attracts more opportunities. And opportunities create breakthroughs. This is how mastery from within radiates outward and shapes the quality of your entire life.